Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Uh, Farhan, Satish, Kripaduti, thank you so much for joining in on our panel today. Looking forward to our conversation. All our friends who have joined in today are eagerly waiting for this panel. We've spoken very highly of all our panelists who have come in because, all of you, and that's the beauty of a panel which is industry agnostic. Is you get reference points of different industries because if different industries represent different business challenges, business opportunities, and when we talk about central themes like digital transformation, IT process improvements, workforce productivity, so on and so forth, it's very important that we understand that the key premise of doing it all is somewhere business, and business operations for say for Kripaduti will be very different for Satish. Similarly, Farhan, you'll have a very different play here. But with this, without further ado, probably I'll jump right in because I have quite a few questions to cover, and I have three very eminent panelists with me. Farhan, I'll start with you. We've heard the term workforce modernization for a while now, right? And I've said this in different you know platforms that while I have heard the term workforce modernization earlier, you know, but the pandemic really helped us transform the way we work. You know, uh, hybrid work conceptually existed, but nowhere did we ever fathom, what such a huge percentage of our workforce will ever get a chance to work from anywhere. It could be their homes, it could be their wherever they were working from, So I think workforce transformation truly has transformed in the last 2 to 3 years, right? And with this, today I want to pivot around the key themes of employee productivity. As basis data that I've shared in my presentation, workforce productivity has actually increased, which is why if you see all the efforts to put hybrid work have really been so successful because you have at one end employees being happy with the scenario and employers also being happy with the scenario because productivity has increased, right? So according to you, how do you feel, organizations are looking at, workforce modernization with productivity in mind? How do you think that has transformed, say, from a pre-pandemic phase to a post-pandemic phase for us? Over to you.
Right. Thanks, Ablak. I think it's a very important question in the era of the 21st century that we are in. I will segregate these questions into two parts. First is the IT and technology, which is a truly enabler for the business. And second is the industry mindset that we are working with. So I represent the manufacturing industry. We are third largest in liquor in liquor. We are selling third largest whiskey in the world, which is Officer Choice. So if you look at the IT and technology part, before pandemic, specifically in manufacturing, the workforce productivity was not under focus at all. It was like everybody has to come to office, perform his duties as the JDA has been designed. And of course, the factories, which we have around 45 factories all across India. So we used to manufacture our brand in a different set of arrangement, own unit, type unit, and lease units. So those arrangements is basically required manpower to go there, be on the line, have to be, label has to be, pasted on a bottle has to be filled. Though it is modernized factory, so most of the things are now automated. So once the pandemic, hit the business, this is where the thought process is started. So what is the hybrid? How this blue collar is going to be strategic is going to be happen. And if you remember during that time, the board meeting was also not on a physical. It was completely on a different way. The board meeting was conducive. So there is a tool basically which helped to enable those kind of challenges that we have faced during that time. Similarly, there is a mindset also, because that's where the mindset has started change, because the pandemic is not give us an opportunity, but also give us an opportunity to change the mindset of a management as well. So they at least start thinking, okay, this is something where my employee is working, whether he's working in office, whether he's working in hotel or he's working at home or wherever, my work is being managed by him and my productivity has been asked by the employee. He's giving more than 100%. During that time, we also know, I think we discussed, everybody works more than 8 hours. I think we were supposed to be 12 hours, 16 hours. Few people are working 18 hours also because of so many challenges, and we know where to go and how to handle it. But as and when the things now getting settling down, we also know there are tools which has come which can give you some kind of analysis. The guy who's working out of office, how this productivity of that employees can be measured. There are KPIs, there are collaboration tool which basically enable to see how this employee is basically collaborating, not within the team, within outside the team, with the different functionalities and all. So I think we started with zero, but today, if we look at the kind of tools and the technologies that we have, it will help us to see the employee, whether he's working office or whether he's working out of office, how he's basically adding value to the business of the core. So that's happened, but it happens with the speed of time, which is 2 years and 3 years down the line. When we started, I think Zoom was one of the things which we started. But after one application, we also look at the collaborative tool, which basically not even connect with the one function, with the different function can talk to each other. They have their own team which they can coordinate with the different things. Plus, they also coordinate with the different function as well. Finance can talk to marketing team, marketing can talk to the sales. So this all collaboration has happened, and the tool have evolved in such a level that people, those are working, whether it in a manufacturing area where my bottle is being produced, or the head office where the marketing strategy is being made, all are in sync. So at least the case which is in bottle can be supplied to the dealer and the distributor, who further can sell it to my customer. So this all linked with, of course, the customer is always one, and which every organization is look for it. But this IT, as I said, we have to divide into two. First is the tool which has evolved over a period of time, and similarly the mindset also has changed. And now I think we reached to that level. I think this discussion is going to open the lot of lots of understanding, which other industries have also done the same.
But I mean, you touched upon several points, and thank you so much. Somewhere you touched upon employee productivity, right? I'll take a cue from that. I'll get Kripaduti into the conversation. Kripaduti, as Farhan mentioned, yeah, when we speak about and I have further follow-up question to that. I'll get Satish into that. But right now, the question is to Kripaduti. Kripaduti, when we speak about hybrid work, conceptually the idea is to work from anywhere, anytime, at any place. Now that's the crux of enabling work anywhere, right? So having said so, the key shift is when I work from a centralized uh, office space, to I work from to have the provision of working from anywhere, the way I measure productivity of employee also has to keep pace. I don't know whether it has been the case in several organizations, because the way we used to measure productivity, it could be timesheets, it could be how you biometrics or sales targets, operations targets, so on and so forth. But what I see is, because like Farhan gave a very great example, that we don't work 8 hours anymore. There are times, because of hybrid work, the times we have worked beyond 14 or 16 hours also, right? How do you think measuring productivity in a hybrid era, how can that keep pace with all the shifts that are happening in the hybrid world? Kripaduti, your views on this, please.
Okay. Thanks, Apalak, for this interesting question and these conversations. And thanks to all the other panelists as well, because they have bring their perspective to it. So now answering to your question, so it's a very innovative questions that in Ambuja Neotia, this concept of hybrid working, or rather its concept of not working from the office premises or office network, is actually established, started with our business model, because we are in real estate and infrastructure. So where we are setting up our initial office is actually a remote place, and we are getting our extend our office LAN, or for so matter for office infrastructure, is very difficult proposition. So we start with the office project office which actually have an internet. So even before COVID, we started this operation, though we are not termed it as a hybrid, because we are not this entire IT world, or rather entire world never termed it as a hybrid model, but we work like the similar hybrid model with no definition. Now with the COVID, there are two things actually happened which actually boomed our this particular practice. So what is there? Those one, first of all, in the hybrid model, it was a challenge since 2010-11, that how we could measure the productivity, because there is a perception that going out of the office, an employee or a human being are actually they are doing their job rightly without monitoring by somebody, some supervising. This is the first question which always
Very well put. Yeah.
senior management's question. And second question, whether this hybrid model can be extended for other people as well, or it will be a very destructive call. There is no control within the employee. But this COVID helped us two ways. One, with forced going to hybrid work from home, one thing's actually proven that accountability delivers everything, because during the COVID also we delivered our job from wherever we are, be it a hospital, be it at our home, be it from our park, office, any premises where we have an internet, we deliver our job. So it now management also understands with a given task, if we can give the accountability to the employee, they try to deliver. And it turned to be a more than, because there is also against reverse psychology for an employee. If a person work from 10 to 6, whenever there is 6, they feel like, in their subconscious mind, that it is actually my work hour is gone, so now I'm free, so I can go. So whether my task is closed or not, psychologically I'm out of my mind that my office hours is over. But with the accountability increases, we enable employee to take their accountability even at the lower bottomest level by force of the COVID. So we actually enable decision making power at them. So now they construct their work pattern, whether they are taking lunch and having 2 hours of the relaxation and nap, and then continue till 10. So that is their discretion, and with that, since actually the discretion with them, they deliver more. So now the measuring, as your question is, so measuring we initially prior COVID, we may measure our throughput with the timesheet. So there is an entry and exit timesheet. So by virtue of that, we are actually measuring the similar to the HO, because in HO we have a biometric, and in the project sites we have a similar to biometric. We are not installing biometric. We are having a manual copy where everybody signs in the time, and after COVID we are having replaced that with a mobile app now. But post COVID, nobody is actually checking the timesheet, because management also believes measuring only hours is not that. It's actually measuring your mind. So how much mind you are putting to the organization, that matters. How much physical hours you are putting to the organization does not matter. And that's belief, or that POC, proof of concept, COVID has proven entire world, that if an employee putting their mind to the business, actually he delivers. If a employee only putting their manual hours of 8 or 9 hours to the organization, it does not ensure that he's putting his mind. So coming down to your answering your question in absolute brief.
I think, I'm sorry to interject, but I just love the way you circled around this entire concept of putting your mind to work and not the physical. It's a very new way of looking at it. And also,
and our chairman actually every time post-COVID, he himself says that he was such a motivational person. When he speaks, he always speaks that I'm learning every day. COVID taught me one great thing, that putting mind into the business. We thought that senior management puts their mind. Now I assume a security guard to putting a mind in the business. A mere security guard who actually keeps a person keep a promise that there will be no entrance in the physical entrance in the gate if he is not allowed. So he also putting his mind. He is also putting his jurisdiction.
No, because one more point that you said. I'm sorry again interjecting. You said a beautiful word that productivity. You tagged productivity accountability.
Correct.
Workspace. When you make every individual accountable, you're basically, an accountability comes with empowerment also.
True. And that empowerment, initially we are from the management, even I could be blamed for that, because as a senior guy in the management, I also think twice whether this empowerment should be given or not. But COVID proves me wrong, saying that if you give that empowerment, it actually delivers, even delivers more. Because whenever you trust your employee, the bottomest people, the freshers, and I can tell you that this new generation, the guys who passed out, who are actually 2 to 3, 4 years experience, they actually loves this accountability and loves this empowerment. If you trust them, they can deliver much more than what you can expect out of them. And if you monitor them, they also do how to break your monitoring. So actually, they use their intelligence, fantastic intelligence, to how to break you, prove you wrong. That monitoring myself, it not happened. It would not yield anything you. So, so it is us. It as a guardian, like in a family, our fathers and our grandfathers always taught us that it is we every time we do the betterment of the young generation. So now it's my perspective whether I put them into a competition with me, so that they can do manipulations with the timesheets. They are very smart. So they can, even with a mobile app, they put their starting hours clock ticking from the 8 a.m., though they are actually taking a sleep till 12 a.m. So 12 p.m. So it's not we cannot so
And you mentioned, because you give an example of a security guard. We should not forget that most of us, for most customer-facing people are your security guard or your freshers, not your MD.
Bang on, absolutely. That's where, Aplak, your fantastic point, and that's actually you quoted my chairman. My chairman says whenever you enter office, you first person you visit is a security guard. So it is his humbleness, his reaction to the customer, how we treat the customer at the entry gate, that carries my organization Ambuja Neotia. So that's the single liner he said to us every time. And he said that initially we thought of that we deliver the business. Actually, no, the customers start interacting from my telecallers. The bottomest entity from the org structure, they are starting interacting, which is whether be it a telecaller, whether be it a sales rep visiting their home, or whether it is a security guard at the premises where we are belongs to. So you are absolutely bang on. So this encouragement, or this accountability and trust that we show to them forcefully during the COVID, and now till now it is continued, and it will continue forever, because chairman's outlook is not to go about hybrid should continue, because it gives the accountabilities, gives the trust to the employee, and whatever they do as a entity, freedom with the freedom. So they delivers without monitoring anything, taking every time permissions. No, they are not seeking. They only reach to the higher management whenever they are stuck. Otherwise, they never reach. So that's the point, and we are practically much more higher.
Thank you. I mean, you very beautifully put. I mean, a few points that I use them on several platforms. Thank you so much. But I'll get now Satish into the conversation. Satish, again, taking a cue from Farhan. Farhan actually made some great suggestions. Uh, Remember he said about how this thin line of our work-life balance kind of seemed to disappear during the the actual pandemic phase, where we did not know where to stop working. Typically when you go to an office setup, you go to an office at 9, you clock your hours, come back by 6 o'clock, as the case may be. But in a typical hybrid work setup, when I hybrid, I'm talking about from work from home scenario. Chances were very high that people used to continue working for 12, 14 hours a day. So while the productivity definitely increased, but we also saw a very big issue of employee burnout, right? A lot of people were exhausted by the end of the week. A lot of people just started taking sabbatical, they started shifting. And if you remember, year 2021, if my memory serves me correct, was the year of mass resignation. Uh, People in hordes were resigning from the office because of several reasons. One of them being, employee burnout. So my question here is, while I know you are a IT leader, But in today's parlance, an IT leader is as important a business leader as any other sitting board member in an organization. It becomes your responsibility to make sure that. My question to you is, how do you make sure in today's world of hybrid, where you are giving access to anytime, anywhere work, right, that you do not face the issues of employee burnout? Yes, as a business owner, you have the responsibility of high productivity, but making sure that there are not push employee burnout. How do I increase the employee engagement? It's a question that I'll probably request Farhan and Kifaditi also to give their views, because it's a general question. But I'll start with Satish. Satish, your views to this, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Avalak, and all the gentlemen on the panel. So, as you asked me, I would respond to you from the point of view of IT service team in terms of how I ensured the burnout didn't happen to them, as well as the other members in terms of whomsoever I have interacted closely as IT head in terms of the functions. The similar queries were being discussed during our discussions during the pandemic. So we try to figure out how can we make their lives easy. So now from the point of view of so everyone was taken by the surprise and the arrangements were to be made. Initially, we were facing a lot of challenges in setting up the things, because all these employees to be given access to work remotely was a massive task. Giving them the laptops, computers, it was really a challenging thing. The things are not available. In fact, we were to allow devices, employees their own devices to be plugged into for the work purpose. So all this setup was done, and then necessary applications were given. So we set up RDS server, which enabled them to work from home as this at the same time taking care of the security, underlying security. So with that, the way we have set up is that whomsoever is required to be given access, he can be plugged in by means of some kind of a script, and it didn't take my person to be really man the show. So that is how we try to eliminate that burden. Now, having said that, I mean, once those things were rolled out for remote work, the end users were also being given the internet facility. Wherever it was possible, we provided them the dongles, the devices. They were free to use their own devices, and uh, to certain select people, we also ensured that, because they were living in very small houses. So we try to hire some places which is very close to their proximity to work there. So this is how we try to facilitate the remote work at workplace. In fact, now from the standpoint of burnout, I feel that it's up to the individual how he plans his work. In fact, I find that people echoing their happiness in terms of making work-life balance better, in terms of by properly planning the work. And I could hardly see late night evening meetings and all that. But then everything was within the ambit of 8 to 9, 8 to 8, 8 o'clock. Things were happening.
Satish, I mean, I'm very surprised with what you said, because I know of many industries. I mean, particularly for instance, the ITS sector. I'm sure the list is fairly long. That, but with my experience of interacting with many CEOs like you, suggests otherwise, wherein the fine line of work-life balance kind of eroded, because people, and I think I agree to what Farhan was saying, that instead of us working for 8 hours a day, it used to stretch well beyond that, 12, 14 hours a day. I mean, that's the reality. The question is, while I understand it is to a large extent the ambit and responsibility of the employee themselves, but as IT leaders and other decision makers, as a senior member of the organization, it also becomes your responsibility to make sure that employee engagement is high, employee productivity is high, yet burnout is low. So Farhan, let me ask a question to you. I'll probably go to Deepavati again on this. Farhan, your views to this. What are they? Were there some ways that you deployed or some suggestions for our friends who are listening in and how to? I mean, it's not an easy thing to achieve, but some ideas in how to manage this burnout and increase employee engagement.
See, Aplak, when this happened, I think everybody was in shock, to be very
Mm.
honest. So there are
Yeah,
two things, as Satish has said, we have provided, resources by which they have to come back to the office, means the virtually they can start working, internet, devices. These are the two, three issues. Then how they are connect, which application which we can use, and all these things. That's the first 3-4 months, and
mm.
after that the whole thing has started, and everybody in a shocking situation whether he will be part of the organization, how the organization is going to be survive,
Yeah,
with business model. We started, all of a sudden we were manufacturing liquor, we started manufacturing this sanitizers.
that is it.
We started selling sanitizer to the world. So my
Mm.
entire factories started, then the sanitizer packaging is different. Not the you cannot sell a liquor bottle with the sanitizer bottle. Then the bottle would be different. Then there is a push, and there is you need to have push also where it has to be spread, and there's a lot of things that happen. Then if we are going with the sanitizer, how the brand is going to be look like, whether we have to brand which is a name of company or it is a separate entity. There is a whole thing which is started, and I believe that this discussion is started, and we used to work at least on an average 14 hours average.
Absolutely.
And it's not me, it's basically the management, the marketing team, the
Mm.
sales team, because logistically it has to be approved. Then we are a sin product company. That's how we used to call it. So regulatory comes into a force, like they need sanitizer, because every administration, like the factory where we have a factory, the administration of that city need a sanitizer. But we want to sell out, then you have to go, you have to deposit a tax in advance, and then you need some documents to be filled up and all these things. And managing all this, so it was a bit of the challenge during that time. So the first 6 months and year is very challenging.
Right.
Of course, first and foremost is the stability of a business. That was a big concern. And doing the business with this uncertainty was also one of the challenges.
Right.
So every team of it, like IT was also, it is going through with a lot of change, because new thing has all of a sudden the new thing has come. CFO is complaining this internet is not working. The MD is complaining his laptop is giving a problem. You don't know how to handle it. But of course, the burnout was there. And then after that, we decided that we have to do something. And this is our chairman has come up with the idea that let's start with some yogas, because this is something we have to do some. So we have engaged with all the people, those are there. So first means 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, we started with the 2 batches of yogas where, the capacity internal or apps or these things can be start working. People start working some yogas and all. And we involve family also into it after that. There is a one session for the family. The kids session was different for the wives and the parents also. When we got a success of this yoga, then we involve the parents also. If they are 60 plus, they also have a different kind of, because the one yoga is not serve everyone. So you have a different set of categories with the people. And then I think music is something which it is inherited in our blood, in our culture. So we talk to somebody who can at least do some, musical arrangement and all these things.
Right.
And then Friday and Saturday, we used to have one arrangement where all the family will have dinner in front of this Zoom meeting. Can show to the management, means the entire team, they can share what they have, how they have cooked and all these things. So these are the things which basically given us some light of, movement of a life. But pressure was very high. Working, yes, on an average 16. So that's the first 6 to 8 months in 1 year. That was the period.
Right. So, thank you for sharing your honest feedback on this. Kripajyoti, I'll now bring you to an important element, something that you and I were discussing. See, when we speak about, you know, anytime anywhere work, you spoke about you represent the real estate sector, right? You spoke about, how you actually have remote location work setups done in a jiffy because you have a site, you have a where you need to set up a internet connection. You have devices which are connected to your data center, which is
Correct.
probably in your colo environment or in your data HO. In such an environment, what we've seen is, and I'm sure Satish and Farhan will agree to this, and I have very strong data points to back this statement, is that endpoint security has suddenly become very, very important. You
True.
know,
True.
now, I mean, historically, security has always been a very important element of IT, right? But the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen an exponential rise in security breaches.
Correct.
While there's so many great things that have come out of the hybrid work, one of the biggest challenges has been around security breach. And I'll tell you why I'm speaking about this is because the pre-pandemic phase, if you recall, people, most of our cyber security investments were largely around the data center
True.
because the perimeter was the office and the data
Correct.
center. So a lot of focus on network security.
True.
But suddenly your perimeter of work has expanded. So the entire focus is on endpoint security. So the question has two parts. I'll start with you and probably request Satish and Farhan to share your views on this. Question is, how do you ensure in such a volatile environment, uh, how do I ensure that my endpoint is protected even now
Correct.
when my perimeter of work has expanded? B, what are some of the biggest vulnerabilities these days that need to be managed first and foremost? So, for instance, one big one that comes to my mind is ransomware. I mean, everybody seems to have a challenge with that. So that's the second part. First, Tripati, how are you managing endpoint?
Very good. Thanks. Thanks, Aplak. Actually, you with illustration of your question, you touch a very good point that perennial security initially we concentrated on the data center, and with the COVID we expanded to the peripherals. You are absolutely
Right.
right. From data, it's a journey from the center to outward. If
Right.
you say that, yes.
Right.
Now you're right. So with the COVID, as these two gentlemen, Satish and Farhan, also saying that, so we have a enhanced working hours in the IT side, being a group CIO of the Ambuja Nutia. So where we have a healthcare, we have a real estate as well as hospitality hotels. So though our hotels were not performing that point of time, but hospitals at they are at the bang on, and real estate also started working after 3 months, initial 3 months of the lockdown. Now answering to your question, yes. So we have to stretch our working hours, being an IT guy, being an IT team, not only providing the infrastructural support or enhancing our application to the endpoint, but also securing them. So we have a dual task. First, we have to enable them so that they can actually do a transaction, live transaction from anywhere. And second, we have to make sure that wherever they make this transaction, these devices are secured so that my data is not getting corrupted or I'm not getting any threat from those particular devices. Yes. So how we tackle that? So three steps we have taken. First, the VPN, always initially our VPN was not dual factor authenticated, or our VPN was not, for that matter. It's a mere VPN which where ID password will work. So with the COVID, we started putting it security layer in there as well, putting a dual factor authentication with their mobile number, so that we can ensure that whosoever is logging into is actually authenticated by the system, by the mobile number. This is the entrance. Now, endpoint devices initially in since everybody is in bothering about the protecting network. So whosoever is in our network, we are actually giving them the kind of antivirus or kind of restricted with the firewalls. But with the COVID, we started giving 100% the endpoints wherever they work, be it mobile phone, be it a desktop provided by the company, be it bringing your own device, a device by bring them at their laptop making official transactions. We implemented our antivirus to the corporate antivirus to there as well. So this is the layer number two. Third, the most vitally, we actually segregated all the data post-COVID. So after COVID, first 3 months, the entire IT team worked to segregate my entire ERP and office network environment and created parallel environment, which is actually a kind of a miniature structure of the entire thing. So whenever the transaction happen from the peripheral system, which is not in my LAN, initially resides there, and by design we sync up after the day. So even if there is a instance that running on the mobile, there is an instance running on the remote desktop, there is an instance running on their bring your own device laptops or our laptops, but if it is not my office premises, the segregation of the network says that they do the transaction in some of the snapshots, and that snapshot copied into the main database whenever it is into the in the night, after verifying this, because if even it is attacker reach to my segregated network or my segregated data center, he will only capture one day's record. So I'm actually compromising my entire database with the segregation by one day. So even if it is compromised by any of the bad means, by even if the ransomware, it actually compromises with the day's record. So that's the third and vital thing which continues and which we will continue to enter.
So, Aplak, I want to add here what Mr. Sarkar has said. In IT, we are struggling with the two facts: tangible benefits and non-tangible benefits from the very beginning, right? And security come into the non-tangible, to be very honest. When you go to the management, they'll say, "Kar lena yaar, dekh lena." But pandemic has changed the mindset, as Mr. Sarkar has said. That these initiative, when you go out and talk to the management, that this is what we want to secure. We want to secure the network. We want to secure the access, because after that, the cloud access, the SaaSes, and all these things has come to the fore. When you go and talk to them and tell them this is what we want, I think that at least they're listening your thought process related to the security. That's a mindset which has changed, because after that there are so many attacks which has happened. The phishing attack started, coming mail from all over the world, transfer this much money on all these things, which is started coming. So the pandemic has changed the mindset. The people who take, who's taking a technical decision without having a technical understanding. So at least when you go with them and tell them this is what you want to secure this pipe, my VPN is this is having these many things. But of course, the endpoint is something which we have to, selling within the management, within the internal selling will become very easy. That's the great thing which happened, in which this impact of pandemic.
Farhan, I think you touch on important points. Satish, anything that you would want to add to what Kripadeep and Farhan mentioned, and also because we didn't cover the second part, some of the emerging vulnerabilities that you see, that our friends who are listening to you should be, I mean, there are the, ones which everyone knows about. Like I said, ransomware attack, phishing attack. There are a lot of DDoS attacks which have taken place over the last 1 or 2 years. And these DDoS have been on very large government organizations. I don't want to name them. So your views to this. If you want to, if anything that you want to add to Kripadeep and Farhan, and some vulnerabilities that our friends should be aware of, emerging vulnerabilities.
So actually, as Farhan has said, in fact, the management were they become very savvy about cyber attacks, threats to the data and the applications which we are running. So we didn't, they themselves will give us that kind of that you need to improve onto the security, ensure that the security is in place, and whatever is required to be done to augment your measures, do it at whatever cost it could be. So that has really helped us to further enhance the security on place. In fact, initially when we started, so we were running the applications on the cloud. The ERPs, the major transaction system was on the cloud, and certain applications were running onto the premise. So we ensured that even when the remote access is happening, it goes to the server, which takes care of all the securities. And we minimize the controls so that the data inside of data leakage also was thought for, and it was taken care by minimizing the by providing necessary controls for that. Having said that, now with the management push coming to enhance the further security, we went ahead and onboarded the security solution, which is SaaS based, which ensures that all the underlying vulnerabilities are taken care by means of authentications, software based management of all these access control in terms of device, application accesses, everything. So
Okay.
so actually, by means of this pandemic, we got the security solutions very much upgraded to at our workplace.
Okay. People, moving on, this is my penultimate question. The question is, in fact, I like to coin this term. The device is the new office. While we've known this, but its time is now, because it just showed, like Farhan mentioned right at the beginning, and you said that when you set up a remote site, to be operational these days, you need two things: a device and a connectivity.
Correct.
And you can be live anywhere
Correct.
in this world today. Right?
Correct.
Having said so while device is a new office, I like to call the device the new office today.
Perfect.
No discussion on technology is full today, and without touching upon a very important element of AI.
Correct.
Everybody seems to be talking about AI these days.
Correct.
How do you feel, AI is touching upon important elements? Like when we talk about device management, you have remote device management, right?
Correct.
Where, a technology like VDI, you give access to certain applications to only some set of people. You have IT support system, IT support services, wherein somebody who is using a device, through predictive analytics, you can gauge, where are the challenges most likely going to come out, and you mitigate and manage that. So, how do you see the growing importance and role of AI in the device ecosystem? I mean, your view. I mean, what is your? It's an emerging area, but I'm sure our friends would like to know a little more
Actually,
about it.
you are absolutely correct. And without this AI on the devices, we cannot even. So there was a discussion on the productivity. So there are two ways to. One is I touched upon the accountability. One is a physical data. So the data point comes from the device itself. So you are rightly touched upon. So we implement it. Bring your whether it's a BUID or it is our device. So we always implement a MDM2 there, and that
Right.
MDM2 not only tells about the location, it's also tells about me the operational stuff, like, because end of the day data security also not only protecting my network, my data center, also protecting my people, because end of the day people are generating the data. So if my people are unknowingly sending something over the internet, so some way or the other I have to take a call about that. So my MDM is actually taking the entire routed word, whether it is a sending a file to the internet or receiving a file to the internet, and they actually measuring that. And by quantifying that, we have two KPIs. One is measuring the security part, and second, obviously, the AI part. Because now, let's say I'm giving an example, real example of a Salesforce. A person who is on the fleet and connecting with my customers. So whenever he went to the customers, so I have to provide them a Salesforce so that he can record the transaction or record the conversations in some of the meaningful mode. Now, these conversations prior to this enablement of the AI, the conversations solely and wholly depend on the how the people put their words. It's a selecting of the words the salesperson or the take a note on the system, because the remarks he will continue. So if he convert a hot lead to a sharing that the price for the customer price is very sensitive and he's becoming a cold lead, we do not have any other tool to verify, because it is him who actually interacting with the customer at the end of the day putting a data. Now what we do? We actually enable the Salesforce with or recording all the conversation with the taking a permission from the customer. So he will seek a permission from the customer and says that, can I now I start recording with our conversation? So customer says yes, and afterward, this particular conversational AI actually generate the report. It's not him. So whether it is a hot lead or cold lead, it is not him. It's only with the remark he puts, we are determining. It is also us, the AI algorithm, which determines based on this qualifiers. Actually, we term that as a hot lead, warm lead, or cold lead. Now, and then we verify with the remarks that he puts. So it is actually two-way, works two-way. One, the judgment of the sales guy, whether he is aligned to our methodology. One. So if there is a kind of a totally divergent lookout from the AI and from the remark of the Salesforce, so we could make out that the philosophically the Salesforce is not aligned. This is one. So if it is not, we are arranging a training so that he can groom to the philosophy of how we measure. And second, is there any point that he missed out in the remark? Whether he's missed out in the remark.
Okay.
So to answering your question, yes, we use fully AI with all devices, capturing all the conversation, recording all the transaction, and from there we can measure the throughput or productivity of the employee. This is the objective number one. And objective number two, after throughput, the quality aspect of the business. So how this particular fleet on street or the remote worker actually generate the quality for the organization as per our measured standard.
Okay.
So,
thank you so much.
Just
Parag,
to
please.
add few points here is,
please.
if you look at the endpoint and related security products, first is the data generation, which is happening at the device. Second is the data protection of the data, which has been generated by the user. And the third is the data backup. And there is a vulnerability that he is sending data to some POP accounts using and all this. Now, if you look at the algorithm, which has now reached in 2023, every tool is basically embedded with the AI.
Right.
Look at the backup. There is a backup solution which will hint you if somebody delete the data, because he's taking the data on a data site.
Very well said, right.
If there is any vulnerability at the data which he's taking the backup, he will give you notification that this guy has deleted these many data, kindly look at it. So this is the AI engine basically which sits on it. Secondly, if you look at for IT and IT OT, if you look at it, there are tools which has basically reduced the service desk work. They are alarming people to see only the alarm which comes to them. So that's again, the engine which basically, enabled in such a way that my device is completely protected. If any vulnerability happened with the device level by the user, by the software or any ransom, at least we are having some kind of notification where we can take action. So AI is helping in not even for like the DNS level or the server level or the gateway level, but at the endpoint, the AI is also emerging as one of the best tool which help the service, the IT OT team to look at the health of the device which is there with the user end.
Right. Well, I think you touch upon very important points. I'll conclude today's session, but this is a common question to all three of you. Like digital transformation, workplace modernization or work is also a continuous process. It's not an ad hoc solution, right?
Absolutely.
It's a continuous process. Now, there are many moving parts to make it successful. So, in your view, and I'll probably start with Satish, and I'll request Farhan to take a go on this, and finally, I'll request Tripathi to conclude it. Satish, in your view, what is that one element, that you wish is part of your workplace modernization initiative, which is right now not existent, but if implemented, can really make your organization's initiative more future ready? Something that comes to your mind. I'll probably request you to take a dig at this, then Farhan, and finally to Tripathi.
Yeah, so thank you for asking this very important question. See basically, with the kind of threats now we are dealing with nowadays, lot of solutions needs to be working to really safeguard you. So it is very difficult to onboard everything together. Ultimately it's organization's priority which gets you through onto this. But then if you, I feel that having network access control and zero trust solution together working, they can take care of your maximum vulnerabilities, and which is what I am aiming for to implement. Right now, we have implemented zero trust, but the network access control complementing that would be the savior
That's a
for all.
very nice objectified I think statement, because it's not a motherhood statement. So you're talking about, uh, convergence of zero trust framework with network access control. It's a
Absolutely.
great point, Satish. It's a learning for me as well. Thanks for this, and thank you for all your input. Farhan, your view of, yeah.
Yeah, Aplak, I think there is one thing I'm talking about on I'm not talking about for ITS where the project has been
Yeah.
assigned to the guy who is working. I'm talking about a typically manufacturing mindset. Is the guy who is working on a hybrid environment. I still feel that there is a fear in his mind. By the future that we are talking about, the future ready for the for the workplace. I want that the employee who's working hybrid, he should he should know that his work, whether he is working in a marketing, finance, or sales, or anything, how is his work or his task is contributing for the best of the business. This message, either from the leader or from the manager, should go to him. He should not feel that, yes, if I'm working hybrid, I'm a second class employee of this
That's a great.
organization. So that's a culture, it's a mindset. That's my point.
It's a soft element, but a very important element of what you just said. You're basically touching on a very important element of inclusivity. For instance, in hybrid work, I mean, it is very, it is like you've typically seen people who go to office, guys who come on time, leave on time, and the guys who come late and leave late, giving the impression they are working long hours. So I think that parity of work is very important and making it inclusive. Aparan, Satish, actually, great point, man. Great point. Kripaduti, your views to this before we call
So,
it a day.
yeah, thanks. On a concluding note, I'm looking after a government policy and guideline working for this particular remotely, where we are taking internet from the broadband supplier or from the cable TV supplier or from the mobile hotspot. So there should be some security protocol and guideline governed by the government, because right now, whenever we are getting into the various endpoints, so if a person taking a broadband from the cable TV has operates a network security different than the a person taking from the, let's say, any of the leading provider, Airtel, Vodafone. So I want there should be unified protocol like the all other protocols, unified protocols for guided by the government policy, because otherwise it will be very heterogeneous to work upon.
Very, it's a great point, Kripaduti, and food for thought, but it's not an easy piece to crack, a convergence of all of them. Because what you need is is one single unified platform where you have a security framework in
Just
place.
I thought why I said that, because you see the advent of the internet, www, everybody is there is a governed by some of the body.
Yeah,
Otherwise, these protocols are security protocols right now is not governed by anybody. And prior to COVID, it was not necessary that way. But
right.
now, since we are actually talking to hybrid, so my protocol at office, which has a standard, let's say I'm measuring by ISO or BS 7799, but how to measure their broadband protocol, because that also comes under my foray, because enlarging the peripherals, that also includes in my network.
Yeah,
So
and the issues
there
around
should be some
latency,
policy.
issues around security protocol, issues around in and out. I mean, throughput. I mean, it's a
Correct.
great point. It's a great point. It's a great point. Okay. I mean, I like I said, they are at times very tough to conclude a session. And I wish it's one of those sessions where you wish it was a little longer, but then probably we'll keep it for some other day. I could not have asked for a more collaborative discussion than this. And this completely goes to all out to Satish, Farhan, and Kripaduti to make it so engaging, so lively. And for all those who are listening to this, I'm sure you found a fair bit that you can take back home, understand, acclimatize, and implement within your organization. A heartfelt thanks from my end. for today, it's a sign out.
Yes,
Thank
same.
you so
We
much.
reciprocate the same. We reciprocate.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Palak. Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. Thank you, Satish.
Thank you, everybody.